Let's make a boho beaded bracelet. We're probably going to make 2-strand bracelet. As you saw there, I went through my bracelet tote, and here are some of the things that I pulled out. I have some gold components textured with 2 holes on each end. Assorted bracelets in various colors. Some of these are stones, some are glass. Here's a chunky stone bracelet. The beads on this memory wire bracelet are pretty cool. This bracelet definitely needs help. It's all stretched out, but all different colors of plastic beads. Some more glass beads. And we have some shell beads, and this one definitely needs upcycled. It's all stretched out. Some oval beads, and these are glass. I have some metal components. More stone beads. And I have this bag of various components that we might be able to work with. And then I pulled out some other components. This is left over from quite some time ago. I have a necklace that has some chip stones and glass beads, some jasper stones, a bag of assorted beads from my bead stash, and same thing here, some assorted silver beads, and this 2-hole bead. This is dyed halite. So that's what we have to work with, along with some stringing wire, crimp beads. These are 1.3 millimeter, some small jump rings, and I have some clamshell components. Quite a bit to play with today as we make some boho bracelets. What does boho mean to you? Leave a comment and let me know. And these are just some of the components we're going to work with. For my tools, I have 2 flat nose pliers, 1 needle nose pliers, my round nose pliers that also have cutters on them, a pair of scissors, and assorted beads as I already showed you. The first bracelet is going to be a 2-strand, and I have this faux turquoise, which is actually dyed halite, has brown veining in it. So that's going to be our starting point. I have these assorted beads that I pulled from my stash, and I'm trying to decide if I need to take apart some of these bracelets to work in. I have this little bead, or I could take some from here. I actually think I do want to take this one apart. I love the beads on it. How about this necklace? These little chip stones might work. And these are pretty stones. And this is pretty. Well, they're all pretty as far as that goes. And then I have this tray of assorted components that I might be able to work in. Let's take this necklace apart, because that's what we like to do here. We like to upcycle. So let's go ahead and get our scissors, get a little bowl, and cut this wire. These stones are tight on here, chip stones. Sometimes it's just easier to go ahead and cut it a little bit shorter. And I will hold on to the original clasp. Just going to take off the wire part. I guess this had a brand to it. Can't read it. It might have been Premier, but I'm going to set the clasp and the chain aside. This is what we have to work with from that one necklace. Lots of cool things, lots of different colors, earth tones, and glass and stone, a variety of beads. I love finding stretch elastic bracelets at garage sales because a lot of people just don't think they have any value. And they've worn them for years, and maybe the elastic is stretched out, and maybe they're just tired of it. To me, it's like exciting to find bracelets sometimes for only 50 cents, especially when they have some pretty beads. Let's go ahead and open up this memory wire. It is stiff, which is what it's supposed to be. Trying to get a good grip. But I am going to switch to another tool, my memory wire cutter, and I'm going to cut this over my trash can. There we go. I guess I could have put these in a separate dish, but that's okay. These are really pretty. They're like a tortoise shell almost, but they're not. I'm just going to throw this away. You can see how rusty it is. Oh my, where do we get started with all these pretty beads? And this as our focal point. Let's start with some wire, and I'm probably going to make the bracelet about 7.5. So let's go ahead and measure out about 10 inches of wire. Let's go ahead and go to 11 inches. And we're going to cut 2 pieces because it's going to be a 2-strand boho beaded bracelet. I do have some clips that I like to work with to keep the beads from falling off, so a couple of those. Let's go ahead and just start stringing right through this focal point bead. Let's put both strands through here. I'm not sure if I'm doing the same pattern per strand or different. Probably different. Let's go ahead and clip these two together here for now. And think about the pattern just to this side. We'll focus on that first. I want to mix colors, both gold tones and silver tones, so I'm going to just go ahead and put some of these beads here. These are from other pieces of jewelry that I've taken apart. You know, I save everything. Let's start with just one of the strands and put a small round bead. It's kind of a faceted bead, but start there. And let's start pulling in some color and texture. I have some tiger's eye chipstones here, so let's see what we can pull out. And we don't have to make the pattern exactly the same at all. We can just randomly put beads on here, because that's what the fun of boho is all about, is random beads in a variety of earth tones. We don't have to even put any thought into it if we don't want to. In fact, you know, I tend to be pretty symmetrical on things, but I think today I'm going for random. Yeah, why not? I'm not even going to think about it too much. I'm just going to randomly place some beads on here instead of being symmetrical, because I don't do that very often. How about you? Are you the type of person that likes everything symmetrical, or do you like to just be random in your beading? Now, I do have a little space that occurred between these tiger's eye beads that I didn't really want. So I can, at this point, take this out of here and maybe turn it around. Sometimes putting seed beads in between chipstones isn't a bad idea, and I think I'm going to do that. It helps fill in the space, you know, because they're always irregular, and I have some little seed beads right here, so why not use them? Picking up some of these little beads to fill in that gap. Some of you don't mind if the wire shows a little bit, but I prefer that the wire doesn't show very much. That's going to work. You know what I'm going to do? I need to make sure that focal point bead stays in the center. So I'm just going to kind of move it around, and I think I'll clip it off here so it doesn't move too much. Hey, let's keep working on that random, Vicky. I know you can do random if you try. Let's just have some fun. Just grab some beads here and there. And, you know, I am thinking about what's falling on the side of the wrist, and I don't want to get too big there. Otherwise, let's just have fun with it. Kind of wish I'd put one of these larger stone beads up here. Oh, there I go. Maybe I'll put one on the other side. It's not going to get shown under the wrist, though. See, decisions. This is what happens. I think of how I could have done it better. Meaning, I want the larger beads at the top where they'll be seen. Pop of color there. I'll probably never put these back on the same way, but I'm going to attempt to. And maybe I'll go back to the little seed bead in between again, in between these chipstones. So think larger beads for the top of the wrist and going smaller as you go down the length. Now I did allow extra on this, so I'm going to go ahead and clip this one off. And I have to tell you, I think I'm not even going to attempt to make these the same. I'm just, other than I will have the same starting bead, which is one of these little faceted beads. That's the only thing I'm going to keep the same in making this bracelet. I'm sorry if I'm getting off camera here a little bit, but that's the only thing I'm keeping the same, is the little spacer bead, first bead. Other than that, and I could have left this out of here for now. Let's just take it out since I'm not working both strands at the same time. Oh my gosh, I'm kind of excited about this here. I might even add a little bead here, and then I might, oh goodness. Okay, so I do have chipstones to the left and I have chipstones to the right, but they're different chipstones. Not exactly the same. Come on over here. Little seed bead. So different stones. I am doing 3. Okay, so it's a little bit symmetrical, but different. Tell you, I kind of like this, not thinking about it. This is a great way to use up random beads. If I get a little bit quiet here, it's just because I'm focused on finding beads. And of course I have more jewelry that I can take apart. How are we doing here? Let's stop there and take a look at what we have. On a linear measurement, we are at 7 inches. That does not necessarily equate to 7 inches when you put it around your wrist. I think I'm going to back off just a little bit. Just one bead on each end. So this is the first strand. Let's work on strand number 2. I did say that the only thing I'm staying really consistent with is this little silver bead on each side, little starter bead, faceted bead. And then I did add a little copper color seed bead. So I'll keep a little consistency on the focal point. So I'll zoom in here. This is what we have so far. I want something different this time instead of the chip stones. So I think I'm going to work with these stones. These are a very, very pale aqua color. Again, I'm going to try to mix it up in both silver tone and gold tone and not think too much. Chip stones are getting smaller and fewer in here. Well, maybe I won't use any chip stones on this side. I know it's probably so busy for you here with everything. I'm going to go ahead and even this up, this wire, even it up over here and add another clip. Just working on one side at a time. Do I need to bring any other beads in? I tell you what, I have some chip stones here that are the turquoise. Separate these with a little seed bead like I've been doing. Oh, look how pretty those are. I have the little seed beads in between. Those are really pretty. Again, just going for random. Where am I as far as length? I'm pretty much there. I think I can take this bead off of here. Just trying to get these to be the same length, pretty much in beads. I think I've got it. Although it looks like this wire's so much shorter. Something's moving here. Let me get this fixed. I took a second and clipped these two together here. Hopefully I've got them both in there securely so I can push these beads down. And they look pretty much like they're the same length. I might add one small bead when it's all said and done, but let's bring these together here. It's time to finish this side. Again, just randomly putting beads on here. I do like having the chip stones in 3 with a seed bead in between. I've been kind of consistent with that. There's so many pretty beads to choose from. All from, thrifted bracelets. Some are from thrift stores, some are from garage sales. Wherever I can find them. Wherever I can find them at a good price. How's that? Trying to make this the same length. Need another bead. Or 2. How are we doing here? I think they're pretty close. Now, do I have each strand on each side the same length? That's something we should take a look at, I guess. Just pushing the beads up, pushing the beads up. Let's check that. I'm just going to use this little ruler. I know it doesn't show up very well on camera, but I have, starting at the seed bead to the left of the focal point, I have about 3 inches of beads. And here I look like I'm shy a bead on this one, but it needs just a small bead of some kind. Let's check this again. Keep the clip off just for a second. I feel like I need another small bead on each of these. A spacer bead here. I have 2 of those in here though. See, now I'm starting to overthink it. Okay, how are we doing here? I'm at 3. And I'm slightly over 3. So I'm going to stop here. I might just add a seed bead to make that where I want it to be. Okay, I think we've got it. Let's clip these off just for fun. Let's check the linear measurement. Pushing all the beads down. I need a 4th clip. I have one somewhere. Might be on another project that I'm working on. I'm still at 7. Okay. And I think the only thing I'm going to do to finish this off, well, not the only thing, but I think I'm going to consistently put one of these faceted beads on each end. So I start the same here on each side of the focal point, and then I finish the same. That might push it a little over 7 inches. I'm sure it will, but we'll see how it works out. How's that? I am going to be listing this one in our eBay store, Avante Avenue, which I always have a link below the video. So that's what I'm finishing with, the little faceted silver bead on each end. Now, how are we going to finish this bracelet off? How are we going to do that? First of all, I'm going to allow myself a little more tail here to finish it off. I told you that I had pulled out some clamshells. What is a clamshell? I have 2 types in my bead stash. This one here has a little ring. Can you see the little ring? Some of them have hooks, and this one has a ring to put a jump ring. So I'm going to pull out 2 of these. I have some 1.3 millimeter crimp beads. It's what I use the most. And I just took a second off camera and tried this on, and I'm thinking that it's a little bit too long. So I'm going to eliminate a bead on each end. Going to put the little silver bead back on. I'll do that, but I'm taking a bead off of each end. So here is what I'm going to attempt to do, if it works. First of all, I'm going to even up these ends here. And we're going to take the clamshell and go through that little hole on the back side. Yes, it has a tiny little hole here. Going to go through that. My wires side by side. We're going to slip on a little crimp bead, which I can hardly see. Because this is our first one we're putting on, we don't even have to have the clamshell up next to it. We can just pull the clamshell out of the way. The important thing is to make sure that our wires are side by side and not crossing over. So that's what I'm attempting to do here. I'm attempting to make sure that I'm not twisting this. Like I said, because this is our first crimp, we can pull this all the way to the end. I'm taking it off. I feel like my wires are crisscrossed. Just going to start over. But you got to get through that hole. I'm just going to really keep a good hold on these now that I have them where I want them. And we have our crimp bead. I'm going to switch hands and get my flat nose pliers, and I'm just going to pull this to the end and center it up and flatten that bead and test it. It's not going anywhere. And then slide up the clamshell and enclose, we've done this before with single strands, really close to the edge here. But we are going to enclose that in the clamshell, okay? It is inside of here. And we're just going to take like flat nose pliers, something to get it started, and close it up. I'm going to go ahead and add a jump ring now. I have some small jump rings that I pulled out. These jump rings are 5 millimeter. 2 pair of flat nose pliers, open up the jump ring, and put it through the 2 loops on the clamshell. I don't know what type of clasp I'm using yet, but I know that I can attach this little jump ring to just about anything. Okay, let's push all the beads down. I guess I could have gone smaller with my last bead. Maybe they would have pushed up closer. I didn't think about that. I'm trying to get them as close as I can. But I guess as far as the faceted bead goes, probably a smaller bead would have been better. But I'm pushing both sides down individually now. I can't change this over here because I do want to be consistent with how I'm finishing it. But you can see there's a little, well, I might be able to work on that. Push it out a little bit. Yeah, there's just a little gap here. And I guess it doesn't matter. It's on the underside of the bracelet. In fact, if I push it too much, it might just not have enough flex to it. So, but I don't want the beads being loose on the wire either. So, okay, I'm going to push it back down because it will probably loosen up naturally, possibly over time. I'm really liking this. Okay, this is what we have so far. I'm getting excited about it. And I'm so glad I went random because I'm loving it. Okay, this is where we need another clamshell. We need to bring the 2 wires together. And it looks like, okay, my beads are pretty close here. We need to go through, I'm going to put a clip here for now. Clips are just alligator clips. And I always say just check your local craft stores to find them. Okay, let's keep our wires separated, but go through the back side of the clamshell. And this is where we have to go ahead and pull it down all the way because we're getting ready to finish it. We don't have the freedom that we had with the first one as far as bringing the crimp bead all the way to the end. I do want to make sure I have my wires side by side. And let's put a crimp, tiny little 1.3 millimeter crimp bead on here. I should have changed my glasses. Good time to think about it, Vicki. Should have done that when you started. I guess if we're making another bracelet, I'll have to change my glasses. Okay, this is where it gets tricky. We need to get our pliers ready. And I'm going to switch to my needle nose and I'm going to push that crimp bead. Okay, first of all, are my wires crossed or not? Which one does that belong? That's the left and that's the right. We can open up the clamshell a little more. There's a little flexibility to do that. I'm just making sure that everything's pushed down, and then I'm going to reach inside of here and press this crimp bead using my needle nose and then test it. It's good. Oh my gosh, we're almost there. Let's cut this. I'm going to try my nail clippers because I can get in here closer. I'm going to cut up 2 crimp bead. Maybe I shouldn't be trying to do both at the same time, both wires. I think these are getting dull. And then the next thing I like to try are my scissors, which I think these are getting dull too. There, got it. These are little embroidery scissors. If you have any, they work great. Okay, now we just need to close up. I have left those tails a little bit long. Yeah, a little bit long here. Longer than I want. I don't think that they're going to hide inside here. I didn't get, now I'm fraying them. All right, got it. Went flying a little bit, but got it. Okay, I'm going to lay this in position. I can see that my clamshell is a little bit turned here. This time I'm going to try to be a little better. And I could rotate this. I could press this with my hand. It was that easy to do. Some of them are not that easy. And then we need a jump ring. My flat nose pliers. I'm putting it through both of the rings, both loops at the end. Again, I have not determined yet what my clasp is going to be. So here, this one I said could have been turned differently. Well, we can fix that. We can just take this jump ring back off. And we can open this clamshell back up with our fingernails. And we can just rotate it just like that and close it back up. So that's an easy fix. Keep that in mind. If you didn't get it lined up like you want it to be, well, just open it back up. Put the jump ring back in. Let's check the linear measurement. We are at 7 to the end of the loops. Well, the beaded part is at 7, but we're about 7 1/4. So what kind of clasp do we want to use? I know I worked with a lot of silver in this, but because this is BOHO, we can pretty much get by with anything we want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and use the same clasp that we set aside that was on one of these, I guess it was on the necklace that we started with. So I'm just going to add that right here. And I'm going to add the original extension chain, although it might be a little bit long. We're going to upcycle the extension chain. I do think that's too long. So first of all, let's measure it. Let's measure it up to the jump ring. Okay, up to the jump ring, we are now at 7.5. And if we took it out all the way to the end, I mean, this is an extension chain for a necklace, keep that in mind, it would be up to about 10.25. So let's cut that back a little bit. So if it's 7.5, go up to 8.5. Let's allow about 1 inch of extension and 1/4. I'm going to take it off right here, and I'm just going to cut that. And I think I will upcycle this little ball at the end. I guess the length that it's on is open. I'll get this apart and be right back. We've got it. We've got our first upcycled boho beaded bracelet. I added that little ball on the end here, and it's two random strands of beads in beautiful earth tone colors with some turquoise, and I love it. I love it. But I am going to put it in our eBay store, even if I do love it, because you know what? I have some more of these, so I could perhaps make myself one another day. But there we go. There's our first bracelet. As I was about to move on, I thought, you know what? How about if we whip up a pair of earrings? And I went ahead and did it. This is what I've come up with. I have the stone. It's very light aqua stone. I have some of this, what I called tortoise shell, and I have a mix of gold and silver. So that's what I came up with. And we're just going to push the beads down, bend this at a right angle, use our round nose pliers, which happens to have my cutter on it too, cutting down to about 1/4 inch, putting the wire flush, roll it back, close it up, make our little loop. Same thing here. Using my needle nose pliers, you can either open the loops sideways on here or on the earring, whatever you want to do, and close that up. And like I said, I opened it on there, or I can open it here. Doesn't really matter. Just make sure it's closed, because I have those little seed beads on top. We don't want those sneaking up, so make sure they're closed. And there we go. We have our bracelet and a pair of earrings going in our eBay store, Avante Avenue. I hope you enjoyed today's upcycle. I hope you'll give it a try. Just look for the link below the video. Thanks for watching. I'm Vicki, and I'll see you in the next video.